Thanks very much, Ambassador Ajay Bisaria, for speaking to us here on NDTV at this very, very interesting time. So first up, what would be your key expectations from this visit that's happening after 4 years?
Well, I would say this visit is both a routine visit as well as an important visit, because it's routine because this is the 23rd annual summit. These summits started in 2000. I happened to be then in the office of the then Prime Minister Vajpayee when Putin came for the first time in the year 2000. So now it's a 23rd visit. He's no stranger to India. But the visit comes at a very important geopolitical moment of flux in several of India's relationships, in several of Russia's external, not just partnerships, but in the war that is ongoing on Russia's borders. So I think it is an important economic visit from India's point of view. Since the war started in Ukraine, there have been multiple meetings between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. But this is the first visit that will take place, or the first meeting that will take place in India since the war started. So I think that is the significance of the visit. There are a lot of deliverables, I believe, that are under discussion, under negotiation in a whole range of areas. And I'm sure there will be a very robust joint statement of political intention, of geopolitical intention, of where the two sides see the relationship. But much of the content of the relationship is bilateral, because it will refer to the energy supplies, the defense supplies, the economic partnership, the trade that has reached a level of $70 billion last year, the deficit which is in favor of Russia and against India. So I'm sure there'll be a wide-ranging discussion during this visit and multiple deliverables in both the defense and the civilian space.
Ambassador Bisaria, specifically about Ukraine, there have been attempts to try and get India to take a more strident stand. We've, of course, always taken the middle path. Do you expect to hear something about that repeatedly, especially from the West? There has been pressure on India to, sort of, if not rebuke, then at least take a stronger stand against Russia.
Well, this is not new, because the war itself is now several years old, more than 3 years old. India has taken a very clear position when Prime Minister Modi told Putin very publicly that this is not an era of war. And Modi has been to Russia last year while the war was waging at the border. He also went to Ukraine. So India's position remains clear that India would put some pressure on Russia to end that war. And I think that would be something the West should be happy about, that India, which has considerable influence on Putin and Russia, will have a frank conversation about the war and certainly encourage Putin to end the war as soon as possible because of the loss of lives. So I think there will be, of course, strident voices in the West which will ask India to boycott Russia or to not have Putin come here. But, this is also a visit which is an assertion of India's strategic autonomy, India's multi-alignment, in India's right to have the kind of relationships it wants globally and to deal with each partner on their own merit.
How do you think that this visit is going to strengthen the relations between the two countries in forums like the BRICS and SCO?
Well, certainly an additional ballast is provided to the relationship between because of the India-Russia coordination and all the multilaterals where they are a part. In the G20, India and Russia coordinate. Russia was very supportive of India's role in the G20. Again, in the BRICS, India is going to take the chair of the BRICS and coordinates pretty closely with Russia on BRICS. We have multiple Foreign Office consultations, multiple dialogues in which we, exchange notes on various positions, and certainly the SCO. The last year in the Kazan SCO, India was present, and this year at Tianjin, you saw the trilateral handshake between Modi, Putin, and Xi. So I think all these multilateral fora give additional platforms for India and Russia to coordinate positions, have those frank conversations, and it really helps, and the support of each other in hosting these meetings.
And will that also take a step further in what happened in Tianjin, the condemnation of terror? This is the first time that the Russian president is going to be in India since Operation Sindoor.
I would expect there to be a strong condemnation of terrorism. Russia has been strongly supportive of Indian positions on terrorism historically. And if you see the joint statements on these summits over the years, there's been a very strong, unequivocal position that Russia takes on the terrorism issue. I expect this time to be no different. Remember, this is a year where India just went through a very serious conflict with Pakistan, with Op Sindoor. And I think there is, at some point, would be an acknowledgement of on the Indian side that the STARS weaponry of this conflict was Russian weaponry. We had the S-400 air defense system, which had a hit of 315 kilometers across the border, which was a record. We also had the BrahMos missiles, which were important both on 7th May and 10th May in getting targets. So there was a lot of Russian weaponry at use. Russia would recognize that India uses this weaponry, but Russia would also acknowledge the terrorism challenge that India faces, which forces it to get into conflict.
In fact, those defense deals are also likely to be discussed during this summit. The fact that the supply of the S-400 has seen delays because of the war. Do you think that is also a major talking point?
Certainly, it will be, and traditionally this has been the position at these annual summits. There's a lot of troubleshooting that goes on, supply delays and stuff that hasn't happened through the year. There would be, I understand, military to military conversation at the defense minister's level right on the eve of the visit. But the whole purpose of this whole diplomatic architecture, which culminates in the annual summit, is to get out all the issues and resolve them during this summit. But apart from the existing platforms, existing supplies, there will also be futuristic conversations, I believe. For instance, the S-500 is on the horizon, so the newer version of the air defense system could be talked about. The Su-57 air platform, which is the stealth fighters, fifth generation fighters, that would be a conversation as well. So I think in these summits, everything is on the table, everything is frankly discussed, and most of the time solutions are found.
And of course, the elephant in the room has been the oil imports from Russia. We've seen again and again statements made about how India should cut that off. We've been very clear that we are going to do whatever it takes to supplement our energy needs, but there has been a gradual reduction, a drawing down. Which direction do you see this going in?
Yeah, I think the way India is seeing this is that in a geopolitical sense, India would retain its autonomy to buy oil where it's cheapest or from whichever supplier it wishes to buy, no matter what their geopolitical adversaries would say. But at the operational level, if the price is more attractive in alternate sources, there would be a drying out of the oil purchases from Russia, because it also faces sanctions. So I think here the policy would be pragmatic, And if it's harder to get Russian oil and it's becoming more expensive and more sanction prone, Indian companies will look at alternatives. But the principle of India being able to buy where it sees fit, I think will again be emphasized. So it is an important issue. Last year, there was import of $64 billion. The trade went up to $68 billion because of that. But we also have to remember the irony that the Chinese imported as much, if not more, of oil of more than $65 billion worth of oil, and that did not face any direct sanctions. So I think this is a ticklish issue. It will be discussed, but I'm sure the Russians would understand where India is coming from on this issue, and it is mostly an economic conversation with some flavor of geopolitics in it.
But Ambassador, is this really about getting a better price or a better deal elsewhere, or is this about, in a way, conceding to the kind of pressure we've seen, especially from America, from Donald Trump?
Well, I think the way it would be looked at is a pragmatic arrangement where India recognizes the fact that oil or energy may be cheaper from other sources and retains its right to buy it from wherever it's cheaper. So I think, again, it will be not really seen to be conceding to pressure. That would be if India made an announcement that because of this pressure, we will stop buying Russian oil. But if Indian companies reduce their imports because of the sanctions and because of the prices, then that is something that India at the government level will accept. So I think it's a bit of a tightrope there, but clearly you want to retain the in principle ability to source your energy from wherever you want, while recognizing both the price and geopolitical hurdles on the way.
And finally, since you mentioned that this is a tightrope and India has been walking it for quite a while now, after this visit, do you see this tightrope between America on one side and Russia on the other get any easier for India, or status quo?
Yeah, I think, Padmaja, that's the whole point, because when these summits are planned, you don't plan on the geopolitics and the direction in which it will go. It so happens that while the summit takes place, there are 3 or 4 major geopolitical events that have come together, each unresolved, each with uncertainty. So the India-US trade deal is at a sensitive point, and the Americans have painted themselves in a corner by loading on the extra 25% because of Russian energy imports. The Russia-Ukraine war, now India as a stakeholder, is at a critical stage. So we have the US envoy, Steve Witkoff, who is today going to meet Putin to try to see how that 28-point plan or 19-point plan of Trump comes through. So hopefully that is reaching an end game as well. And then, of course, there is the Russia-India equation on its own, whether how Russia would deal with a situation where India reduces oil imports. So all these geopolitical factors will come into play, and I think this is the reality of the new geopolitics. You've got to do business while recognizing the complexity of geopolitical events that hit you.
And to help us navigate through all of that, Ambassador Bisaria, thank you very much for joining us here on NDTV.
Thank you.